Punktorah Productions. Sponsored by Darshan Yeshiva. This is Rabbi Reacts to Joe Rogan Experience, episode 2308 with Jordan Peterson. So it looks like Joe Rogan and Jordan Peterson had a conversation, albeit a little bit short, about the Jewish people. This is me reacting as a rabbi to what they had to say and giving a little bit of context and opinion. So let's get to it.
Especially on the anti-Semitic side, because that's really where it reared its head first. And
why is that?
There's nothing more annoying than a successful minority.
Okay, so this idea of the successful minority or the model minority, this is a real thing. And it actually comes out in different kinds of groups in different ways. The economist Thomas Sowell actually talked about this in one of his books. There was a very long form essay about the idea that the Jewish people are not unique in history. There are Chinese nationals, the Lebanese, other people who have a similar type of process by which they can move into different communities and be successful. And this has nothing to do with some sort of magic success. There's no secret to it. It's actually a kind of circular economy where you get into some kind of industry, usually a middleman type of industry. So this is different types of things like insurance brokerage, stock brokerage, things like that, where you don't have to have a lot of capital. But you do have to have relationships. So you get into some kind of field where you don't have to have a lot of capital, but you do have to be pretty smart, and you have to be very social. You gain social capital, and that's the real secret. You sell whatever it is that you sell, something where usually you can earn some kind of commission based on your sales, things like that. You then participate actively in community. So if you're active in the golf group or the synagogue or the PTA or something like that, you meet other people. They become clients of yours. And then you take those sort of skill sets of entrepreneurship or sales, and you pass those on to your kids. Of course, you invest heavily in your kids' education. They have the financial capital for the first time, and as well as the education, and they've learned how to grind, and they've learned the idea of building relationships, and being able to use those relationships to help them succeed in life. And you then give back to the community, right? So you do things like taking a portion of your wealth and investing it in schools, hospitals, nonprofit organizations, things like that. Coincidentally, if you're doing that kind of thing, you are around more people, you build more social capital, and that is how you are able to perpetuate a very successful life and successful lives for your children. So it's not a magic trick. It's not some weird anti-Semitic thing. It literally is just learn how to build relationships. Everything is a relationship. Build relationships.
Right. Now, that's part of it. And I'm going to I must get myself in trouble right away, too.
Yeah, for sure.
Well,
this is a third rail subject.
Well, so it's a real terrible subject.
It's interesting because if you don't criticize it enough, you're compromised. If you criticize, it's like when it comes to anti-Semitism, like it's one of those things where you can't separate.
Where's this going?
It's a religion.
Yes.
And it's also a race.
No, it's not. Okay. All right. We are not a race. The Jewish people are not a race. Repeat after me. Jews are not a race. There are Jews of all different kinds of races. Every race that exists, there is a Jewish person in that community. So no, we are not a race. We are an ethno-religion. We are a peoplehood.
And it's also a government.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Again, Judaism is a religion. It is not a government. You're talking about Israel, Medinat Yisrael, you're talking about a country. A country is also not a government, right? We have a particular government in the United States where I live. That is not the entire country.
That's where things get weird.
Right.
And then there's also the concept of intelligence agencies and compromise that also gets attached to it, the manipulation of world markets and money, and there's a lot.
Okay, so let's talk about some of that stuff, right? I love how the Jewish people are anti-Semitically thought of as a drain on the economy and also the cause of the economy. It's an idea that Barry Weiss has proposed called punching up, right? So it's the idea that when it comes to anti-Semitism, it's different than some other kinds of prejudice. A lot of prejudice is about punching down. It's you're not good enough. You take from us, right? Because of you, the country or the planet or whatever is worse. There's actually an unusual kind of aspirational prejudice to anti-Semitism, which is, why do you have this? Why do you have that? Why are you successful? What's your secret? And so that's a unique thing about anti-Semitism. There's probably other sort of prejudices that are aspirational in nature that are punching up instead of punching down. I don't know what those are, but that's just what's off the top of my head.
To unpack. And then there's regular Jewish people have nothing to do with that.
Well, the Jews
I'm a regular Jewish person, has nothing to do with anything. I'm just a guy with a laptop.
too they're very successful.
Yeah.
And so what
Not
you would
all.
expect from a purely statistical point of view is
10% of Jews in the United States live in poverty. It's actually probably a larger number than that. And in Israel, I believe last that I looked, it was about 20%.
you'd expect them to be overrepresented at the extremes.
They're also a walled garden, right?
Meaning?
Meaning, it's very difficult to join. They don't proselytize. They don't.
Okay. Let's get into that. Hard to join? Not really, honestly. Go to darshanyeshiva.org, right? You can become part of the Jewish people by working with one of our mentors almost anywhere around the world. So no, it's not that hard. That is a stereotype. It's a myth. It depends on, what direction you're coming from. It's either a stereotype or it's a myth. Yes, if you want to convert to Orthodox Judaism, you do have to move into those communities. You do have to live that lifestyle. And that's because you are joining a people. You're joining a tribe, right? You can't say, I want to be something and then not participate in it. And that's the difference between, I think, Judaism and maybe some other religions. I don't know, because I don't follow what they do. But it's not a walled garden. We're not keeping anything secret. You can go online and learn anything that there is to learn about Judaism. It is not a mystery religion at all whatsoever. And if you want to learn more about Judaism and you want to get started in a very simple and straightforward way, head to darshanyeshiva.org. Take Judaism for Beginners. You pay $75 and you get free content for life. For life. Seriously, we're updating it all the time, including with things like this.
They don't try to get you to join. And they're all very tightly knit.
Okay, so we don't try to get people to join. That is true. We do not proselytize. We don't feel that we need to. If you are interested in becoming Jewish, you come to us. That's all there is. But I don't think that means we're a walled garden. I just think it means we have a different approach to life.
Call themselves the clan. They're all like locked.
Oh, whoa. No. Jews do not call okay. I need a map. We do not call ourselves a clan. That is not a thing. That is not a thing. We call ourselves a peoplehood, a community. That's it, really. Peoplehood and community. And if you want to use a biblical term, Kalal Yisrael, like the greater idea of the Jewish people worldwide. We do not call ourselves a clan. No.
In the Jewish clan, not KKK. The
Okay,
problem
good.
with that term is
Okay,
been
good.
compromised by the
Clarify
Ku
that one,
Klux
Joe.
Klan. But I mean it as terms of tribe.
Community.
Yeah, community.
Thank you.
Very
Yeah.
tight knit in that regard.
Okay, so let's actually talk about that tight knitness, because I think that actually is something that people don't understand. We're actually not that tight knit. Certain Jewish communities, plural, are tight knit. Most Jews, though, are not part of these kinds of communities like synagogues and JCCs and things like that. Most people are unaffiliated by a very large margin. And if you go to different sort of cities in the United States, you will find more or less Jewish commitment and more or less involvement in Jewish community. But this idea that we're tight knit and we do everything for each other and only with each other and we only help one another, no, that's not true at all. And actually, I have found the larger a Jewish community, right, like a city with a larger Jewish community, actually, the more fractured it is.